There he is. Man, this is a blast from the past. We used to do this all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Very frequently. Is it nice to see the background again there?
It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you in a scenario when it's not like you guys are playing in a pro-am and you're walking one way and I'm walking the other way, and like we're not gonna have like a heart-to-heart about everything because it's like a 2-minute interaction. So it's nice to catch up.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's nice to see you. Congrats on Dan on golf. You know, you're really just turning into your dream, which is to be Colin Cowherd. So I think this is a little bit step closer. So congratulations.
Dude, it's so funny you mentioned that because in all of these meetings about like, what is the show? What is the show? I'm like, just watch the Cowherd Show. Everyone's like, no. I'm like, you should watch it. It's the best show
Literally
ever.
the only thing you need to do. All the research you need.
When is this qualifier? How are we feeling about the qualifier? Because you guys added Beef, who's a good player. Like, what are your thoughts on who's gonna win that thing?
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to win it. Definitely not the favorite, but if you win it, then you got to go play the back nine at Sawgrass in front of a lot of people. That's absolutely terrifying. I think we're going to do it next week. I believe, our schedules work out. We got the Barstool Classic is kicking off next week. So in Myrtle Beach, we're going to be, I think it's True Blue is the course. We kind of rotate every year. But
that place is money.
But yeah, I think we're going to do True Blue. We're going to host the Classic. And then afterwards, we're going to do a little 9-hole qualifier to see, which one of us gets the spot at Sawgrass. And it's, look, it's an interesting spot for us. Our brand is not necessarily elite, like good golf. None of us really played competitive golf, except now we've got Beef, who of course was a PGA professional. He takes off his hat and introduces himself as, hello, I'm Beef. I'm head golf professional. So I don't even know what he's really the head golf professional of now. I think it's Barstool Sports. He's helping everybody in the Chicago office, but he can absolutely, he makes a nice move at the golf ball. I haven't seen a full look at his game yet. Camera changes everything a little bit. Frankie's probably our favorite from what I would see. As you know, Frankie can stripe the ball, but we all have our weaknesses and our strengths. So who knows? But I like I said, it's an interesting spot for us because it's like you got, PGA Tour winner out there and folks, and even, I saw Paige was on there. She was lovely as always. Like she played professional golf, really, really good amateur golfer. And then you've got us who we're not playing good golf. We're playing entertaining golf is sort of our brand. So when you get out there and it's a bit more of just a meritocracy type situation of like, who's going to play the best golf? Probably Foreplay Golf brand is not the first group that sticks out.
Is Francis playing in the qualifier or is it just the sort of the core four?
No, I think we're going to have all kind of 6 of us now. We got Jersey Jerry, Francis, myself, Beef, Trent, Frankie, and I think we're going to do, since the Creator Classic is 9 holes, I think we're going to do 9 holes. I think we're just going to do stroke play, and we're simply going to see who wins. Francis is an absolute athlete, and, I can hit it all over the place, but occasionally get up and down and play really scrappy. So, like I said, I think we got our clear favorites. Frankie's probably playing the best golf. Beef is a very solid player, but we might have anybody could win that damn thing. Trent, who knows? Trent's playing pretty good golf right now.
I'm rooting for Francis just because I would love to see his nervous energy at Sawgrass. I would love to see him say something on the broadcast that's like completely out of pocket.
Yep, I love that man, and anything could come out of his mouth. He's kind of willing to go anywhere for a good laugh. But he's also, he's a college athlete, so he can hit the ball. He takes his game pretty seriously. We just did a little fitting and got everybody kind of dialed in with their equipment. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of our show. Anything could happen out there. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, I just remember when we went to the Bahamas with Good, they were just not really ready for the Francis Ellis experience. And for the first 3 hours, they were like, "What the who is this guy?" And then after 5 hours, they were like, "This is the best guy ever." So we got to talk about the breakup. I think that's what people want us to talk about. You guys, I think it's like a good move for both. As much hate as I got when I joined Foreplay, that's how much love Beef gets. So the audience seems like super happy with what's going on. I want to play this clip that Dave, this was his take on the breakup.
I don't mean this disrespectfully, okay?
Right.
I don't like Dan Rapaport, but I don't not like Dan Rapaport. I have apathy towards Dan Rapaport. I wish him well. I have absolutely no ill will to him. I would agree that Dan Rapaport's an unusual fit for us in the sense he's boring.
That's true.
And he came on through Foreplay. So Foreplay wanted him. He wanted to be there. We would re-sign him. And if he didn't, he didn't.
You didn't care. You didn't care if he signed or not signed. Not really.
I would have re-signed him if Riggs and the Foreplay guys re-sign him. It sounded like there's no ill will. It was his choice. Again, we said he was boring, and we had that thing with Frankie. I was surprised he wasn't coming.
What are your thoughts on Dave's take?
I think that's pretty much sums it up. I've had a lot of people ask me, everybody wants juice, right? Everybody wants there to be drama. And quite frankly, we live in the internet world where drama's better. So I wish there was some juicy bad blood story. I really do. People ask me off camera all the time, like, what happened to Rapaport? From tour pros to, outside service guys at courses when I go up there. And it's pretty much the exact same answer Dave just gave. If it felt like on both sides, everyone was very hardcore, like, let's keep Dan. Dan is just a Barstool guy through and through. It would have gotten done. And if it was a little bit even like lackadaisical on that front, then it was probably going to go another direction. And it did. I think that exactly what Dave said is pretty much exactly how we felt. I would say, like, I never got the vibe that you were going to have Barstool Sports on your tombstone when everything was said and done. Whereas I think a lot of kind of the main personalities at Barstool will. That's sort of like what they'll be known for professionally. It was like, that person was a Barstool person, guy or girl or whatever. And I don't know that Dan Rapaport, you ever really fit that mold or felt career-wise like that was where it was going to go. So it was solid. You did something that we never did, which was great. You added a totally different element, which is this like golf nerdy, journalistic, and by nerdy, I just mean like the nerdier side of golf. Journalistic
it's okay.
coverage.
You can say it.
Of the game that like we don't do. Myself, Frankie, and Trent don't break down elements of the game like you do. We're still into it. We're still very into the drama or the main storylines, and we're always going to be. But going deeply through players' careers and kind of knowing when a guy like Brian Campbell comes through and wins, like that backstory and all, which we just don't do. We don't really cover that kind of stuff. So I thought it was a great idea. Everybody did on our team to add Dan Rapaport, like a golf journalist. I thought, we're a little bit different than a lot of the other groups in terms of the golf YouTube space where like we do a podcast twice a week where we give our opinions and takes on the game of golf. We've been doing that for 8 years. So it's like, so if we're trying to kind of cover the game, you kind of need someone to cover that part of the game. And we thought that was going to be a good addition. In a ton of ways it was. I do think, like, we've talked a lot about the original sort of like introduction to our world is something we had never done before. We had never really brought anybody in from the outside and probably just didn't do that correctly. There was like this exit from good old Lurch that was coincided with the introduction of you, and it was just kind of a weird spot for our audience, and some people didn't know how to handle it. But I will say, even though like you talk about as much hate as you might have got when you came, in a very funny way that happens a lot, it's like I feel like you got a ton of love when you left.
Yep.
People were like, wow, Dan, I can't believe that. Why is he going? And so it's very interesting in that.
Well, people just want to bitch.
When you're
they don't like when there's a new guy, and they don't like when the new guy leaves.
Yeah, and like when you're their guy, they can give you the most shit of all time, and then the minute that you're like not there, they're like, wait a second, no, that's our guy. So it's like, I felt like you got a lot of love kind of on the way out, like I said. But yeah, I think unfortunately it's sort of a bland answer for people of being like, yeah, if Dan really wanted to stay, we would have loved to have kept him and re-signed him. And if Dan wasn't feeling it and we weren't feeling like it was instrumental to the future of Barstool Sports, then it was okay if we broke up. And so we broke up.
Yeah, and you guys just crossed 500 subscribers, which is amazing. And yeah, I just want to echo what Riggs said. Like, everyone wants there to be some really juicy story, but it was just two sides. It was like a conscious uncoupling is the way I would describe it, more so than a breakup. I wanted to talk about this Creator Council. So you guys are on the Creator Council with a bunch of other really big people in the sort of golf influencer space. I know you guys have had a meeting or maybe even more than one. What are those like? Because I know these tour meetings can be a lot of ideas without a lot of like actionable. What goes on?
Yeah, we've had a couple meetings. We didn't really know even what it meant to be on this council. I don't think anybody really did at first. It was sort of like, all right. And there's concern, like, is it just a token thing to put people on? So it feels like, fan or influencer feedback is being considered, or is it kind of real? I would say the first meeting went long, but it was very, very good. It was very productive, more productive than I thought it was going to be. The tour kind of did 30 or 45 minutes of laying out sort of their side of things, from formats to some events to, the Creator Classic to access at events. And then there was a very good kind of feedback period where a bunch of people chimed in. Frankie gave a ton of, feedback from our standpoint on different parts of kind of the tour, and you know, we've talked a lot about this, you know, when you were on our side of like it, we run a business. And so if we pay a lot of money by the time we fly our team out, and it's flights and it's hotels and it's Ubers to go to a PGA Tour event, but we can't really film anything at a PGA Tour event, then we're just sending money out the door with no real way to recoup it. Whereas if we go fly to Pinehurst, North Carolina for 4 or 5 days and film 5, 6 YouTube videos, you know, we sell advertising and we can make a good amount of money on that stuff. So it's just sort of like calculating that was sort of the reason that us and a lot of people in our shoes didn't go to a ton of tour events and quite frankly didn't really find much of a business model behind covering PGA Tour golf. And so the tour is in an interesting spot where they've got these broadcasting contracts with the big networks, with NBC, with CBS. So it sort of was this like butting of heads between people that are in our shoes trying to capture content. The whole world is video now. It's YouTube and it's short form video like TikTok. And if you can't capture video, you can't really do anything. We don't go to a tournament and write articles about, you know, why somebody hit like a little cut 8-iron, you know, instead of a hard draw 9-iron. Like, that's just not what we do. And so if we can't capture video, there's not a lot of reasons for us to cover tour events. And they've made great strides. You know, they kind of revealed to us, you know, ways in which they've been able to change and improve that aspect of it for us. So it's actually been pretty productive for the first month or so.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because they've had, I mean, golf media in the past has been like the writers who go to every single event, and they don't have a rights issue because what their product is an article, and you can write an article and use a Getty photo. You guys are that's not the business. So that's an interesting part of it. I wanted to ask you a few things. I just want to reminisce, and not reminisce, but like we used to talk golf on our podcast. I want to talk a little golf. This meeting between Trump, Yasir, Jay Monahan, Tiger Woods, and Adam Scott. If you had to put like a percentage breakdown of who's doing the talking, there's a lot of egos in that room. What do you think that meeting's like? Who's doing the talking?
I gotta guess, you know, Trump does a lot of talking. I think he just does a lot of talking in general. You know, it's interesting. This has been such a shocking saga. If you go back to the very beginning, and you go back to the dead in the water stuff that we all kind of thought was true. If you go back to the Players Championship 3 or 4 years ago, whenever that was, when, you know, Monahan and a lot of folks from the tour were sort of taking a victory lap on that, it looked like Liv had kind of been killed. And then a month or two later, it was all of a sudden a lot of big names had gone there. And now here we are with Yasser and Tiger and Monahan in the Oval Office or in the White House with, you know, probably right now the most popular and or at least the most powerful leader on the planet who has about as much juice as he's ever had. It's a crazy roller coaster of a ride that they've gotten on. You know, I do think that there's just a lot of BS that still comes out from all of this, I think, and nobody still really knows what anybody's actual intentions are, at least not what everybody's intentions are. I think one of the main quotes that I saw was that we all, from Monahan, that we all want the best players in the world playing together more often and are committed to doing all that. Well, if that were the case the whole time, we wouldn't be in this situation. That's clearly somebody at some point did not want that. And so I think that, again, it's like hard for me when people were saying quotes like that. If everybody wanted all the best players in the world to play together, there wouldn't have been a fracturing in the world of golf where the best players in the world don't play together because they used to just a couple years ago. And so trying to figure out who exactly wants what, you know, I know we talked about it on our show forever when you were on it, but it's like, what does Liv really want? What does Yasser really want? If they really want to build some viable business and they're in the whole $5 billion, that doesn't seem feasible. So does he just want access? Does he want the Augusta National membership? Do they just want a lot more clout in American culture? If so, then they're doing pretty damn well. So just kind of figuring out what everybody's intentions truly are, because the tour for a while's intentions were pretty much just to shut everybody out and to like laugh at the thought that there could be an existential threat. Now there clearly is. So again, there's just been a lot of kind of roller coaster peaks and valleys. And I think that anybody that's not in those rooms is still just conjecturing at this point that they have any idea what people's real intentions are. We're hearing reunification is all of a sudden the term that like, that was probably just sent out on the email being like, this is the term we're going to use for the next couple of weeks. Nobody really knows. And I still think after the statement that came out last week, we still don't really know anything else.
Yeah, the statement last week I thought was potentially going to be a little bit more concrete. It wasn't. It said like important step. There's been a bunch of important steps. I thought that one of the kind of repercussions of the framework agreement was going to be like maybe they would just drop these bans so that player like John Rahm would have played, Phoenix if he was able to, but apparently that's still not happening. I want to ask you, I know you're a big fan of long shot bets or not long shot bets, just futures bets. I want to ask you, who's your Masters pick? That's my last question.
Oh man, I have a future going into, I think from late winter late 2024. I placed this wager on Ludwig to win a major this year. I'm going to stick with him. Obviously, he's had a heck of a start. That seems like a very obvious thing to say right now because he's just coming off a win at the Genesis. But, I had a little bit of insider information that just made me feel like this guy is truly the guy that we think he is. And seeing him kind of close out that tournament like he did, there had been a couple stumbles throughout his career. There had also been a couple absolute statement closings of the door before, and that's what that was. So at a hard golf course, I'm just feeling really good about this kid. I got him winning a major this year, and whether it's the Masters, whether it's one of the other three, it doesn't really matter to me. But if you're going to ask me, I'm going to go with Ludwig in the Masters. First time he ever played in, I believe, a major championship in his life, he almost won the Masters last year. So I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, he finished solo second, and Liverpool, his beloved Liverpool, are going to win the league. So it really is the year of Ludwig. Thank you so much for joining us, Riggs. It's nice to see you. It's nice to talk to you. We're still good friends. I know the internet doesn't want to hear that, but thanks again.
Always, Dan. I appreciate it. Thank you.